I read the good words I have found little by little. The happiest of people don't necessarily have the best of everything. They just make the most of everything that comes along their way. Utter unknown. The first rule of a professional accounting practice: nobody is in a rush for the wrong answer. It is in the whole process of meeting and solving problems that life has its meaning. Problems are the cutting edge that distinguishes between success and failure. Wise people learn not to dread, but actually to welcome problems. A man is what he is, not what he was. Yiddish proverb. Genius is childhood recaptured. Charles Baudelaire. The secret of success is making your vocation your vacation. Mark Twain. The charm of all power is modesty. Louisa May Alcott. The child benefits more from being valued than evaluated. Don Dinkmeyer. 17 words that will never fail you. Once there was a retirement dinner for a very successful business executive. There was a lot of good-hearted roasting of the guest of honor before he got up to speak. He started with a few zingers of his own, and then he started to reminisce about some of his successes and failures. The retiree got very nostalgic and said, "Let me tell you why that's been the case. Many years ago I had a great boss and mentor. One day he gave me one of his business cards. On the back of it my boss had written 17 words. He told me that whenever he had to make a tough decision or he was in a challenging predicament, he would read this list of 17 words. Then he would close his eyes and try to be very quiet, and something amazing would happen. One of these words would always jump out at him and steer him in the right direction. My boss told me that for 40 years these 17 words had never failed me, and I am here to tell you that this list has never failed me for my last 40 years. Then he passed out his business card, and here's what he wrote on the back of each one. The 17 words that will never fail you. Prepare, listen, smile, care, choose, focus, believe, relax, act, forgive, pray, trust, change, persist, accept, risk, wait. And now the magic of these 17 words has been passed on to you. The difference that made the difference. It was their 25th high school reunion. Ted and Joe hadn't seen each other since graduation. Ted, the star of the basketball team, had gone on to become a successful CEO of a huge corporation. Joe, the captain of their undefeated team, was now a minister in town. "Joe, I want to thank you for making me the success I am today," the businessman said. "I don't think I had anything to do with it," joked the minister. "Well, you probably never knew this, but it drove me crazy that I was never elected captain. Just before graduation, I asked Coach why the team voted for you and not for me. Coach said something I have never forgotten. He said, 'Ted, you were the best player on the team while Joe wanted to be the best player for the team. You wanted to be the best player in the state while Joe worked to make us the best team in the state.' It's a lesson I have never forgotten. I now realize that the difference between us was that I was selfish and you were selfless. When I became more like you, I was voted captain of my college team, and it helped me quickly climb the corporate ladder, so the old me would have wanted my company to be the best company in the world. Now I strive to make it the best company for the world. That's why I want to thank you." "I want to thank you too," the minister said. "For what? You just wrote this Sunday sermon for me." The most difficult thing in the world is to know how to do a thing and to watch someone else doing it wrong, without commenting. The gift. You have been given a gift, believe it. You have been given a gift, discover it. You have been given a gift, develop it. You have been given a gift, cherish it. You have been given a gift, use it. You have been given a gift, give it away. Driven by the strongest motive. In a remote section of the Ants, a highland tribe attacked a lowland tribe. The highlanders kidnapped a lowland baby girl and took her back to the mountain stronghold. Though the lowland tribe had no knowledge of the mountains or how to climb them, They immediately sent an armed band of their most powerful men after the kidnapped child. But they had no luck. For several days, they tried every route they could find, but always ran up against walls of sheer rock they couldn't surmount. Finally, they had to admit defeat and began packing their gear to return to the village. Then they noticed the mother of the stolen infant walking toward them, carrying the precious baby she had lost. And coming down the mountain they had been unable to climb. They asked in amazement, "How were you able to climb those impenetrable mountains, let alone get back your child, when our rescue efforts failed?" She smiled and said, "It wasn't your daughter." Nothing is more important to the future of an idea than the first step you take to try it out. O. A. Batista, scientist and writer. A man's true wealth is the good he does in this world. Muslim Hadith. Some of us are timid. We think we have something to lose, so we don't try for the next ill. Maya Angelou, writer. Peace is costly, but it is worth the expense. Kenyan proverb. Nothing you do for children is ever wasted. They seem not to notice us, hovering, avoiding our eyes, and they seldom offer thanks, but what we do for them is never wasted. The perfect golf swing. Reverse every natural instinct and do the opposite of what you are inclined to do, and you will probably come very close to having a perfect golf swing. Ben Hogan, golfer. Robert Louis Stevenson's Daily Dozen. The most interesting thing about human being is the values by which he or she lives. Unfortunately, most of us never take the time to sit down and really think through the moral precepts that consciously or unconsciously guide our lives. The following Daily Dozen constitutes the personal creed of writer Robert Louis Stevenson, 1850-1894. 1. Make up your mind to be happy. Learn to find pleasure in simple things. 2. Make the best of your circumstances. No one has everything, and everyone has something of sorrow intermingled with the gladness of life. The trick is to make the laughter outweigh the tears. Don't take yourself too seriously. Don't think that somehow you should be protected from misfortunes that befall others. You can't please everybody. Don't let criticism worry you. Don't let your neighbor set your standards. Be yourself. 6. Do the things you enjoy doing, but stay out of debt. 7. Don't borrow trouble. Imaginary things are harder to bear than the actual ones. 8. Since hate poisons the soul, do not cherish enmities. Grudges, avoid people who make you unhappy. 9. Have many interests. If you can travel, read about new places. 10. Don't hold postmortems. Don't spend your life brooding over sorrows and mistakes. Don't be one who never gets over things. 11. Do what you can for those less fortunate than yourself. 12. Keep busy at something. A very busy person never has time to be unhappy. Learning cannot be inherited, but the desire to learn can. The formula for success is simple: practice and concentration, then more practice and more concentration. Babe Dixon Arias, golfer. If you don't like what you're getting, change what you're doing. Prefer a loss to a dishonest gain. The one brings pain at the moment, the other for all time. Chilon, Spartan ambassador. True love. They met, they fell in love. They married, they raised a loving family. They worked and sacrificed much to create a caring home. Finally, they retired to a wonderful little house in Arizona, but their dreams were shattered when he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. She struggled as best she could, but finally she had to place him in a nursing home. The years of his illness had taken their toll on her. She was down to 98 pounds and badly stooped from arthritis. Yet every day she made the 12-mile trip to the nursing home to feed him his midday meal. Every day she would go through the same routine. "Who's this?" she would ask, lifting a framed photograph of their daughter from his dresser. He would stare at it, then shake his head. It was the same with the pictures of their son, their grandchildren, their old collie. She would then lift his lens from the arms of his chair, hold them in both of hers, and ask, "Who I am, dear?" At first he would look confused, then his face would brighten and he would look like the man she fell in love with. You love me, he would say. Most days they would be the only words he would speak, but they were enough. How to conquer doubt. The American painter John Sargent once painted a panel of roses that was highly praised by critics. It was a small picture, but it approached perfection. Although offered a high price for it on many occasions, Sargent refused to sell it. He considered it his best work and was very proud of it. Whenever he was deeply discouraged and doubtful of his abilities as an artist, he would look at it and remind himself, I painted that. Then his confidence and ability would come back to him. Those who let things happen usually lose to those who make things happen. Dave Weinbaum. Your imagination has much to do with your life. It is for you to decide how you want your imaginations to serve you. Philip Conley. It's not the size of the house that matters, but the love that dwells within. Patricia Berlin Kennedy. You have brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. And you're on your own, and you know what you know. And you are the guy who will decide where to go. Dr. Seuss. Man does not simply exist, but always decides what his existence will be, what he will become in the next moment. Viktor Frankl. Advice to writers. The worst words you ever write are better than the best words you never write. One of our greatest illusions is that there will be more time tomorrow to do the things we really want to do than there is today. Adults are always asking little kids what they want to be when they grow up, because they are looking for ideas. Young man, the secret of my success is that at an early age I discovered I was not God. Joy is not in things, it is in us. Richard Wagner. To me, success is the ongoing process of trying to become more, says motivational speaker Anthony Robbins in his book Unlimited Power. The road to success is always under construction. It is a progressive course, not an end to be reached. I have found that if you love life, life will love you back. Arthur Rubinstein, musician. Start by doing what's necessary, then what's possible, and suddenly you are doing the impossible. Saint Francis of Assisi, founder of Franciscan Order of Priests. Whenever you are asked if you can do a job, tell them, certainly I can. Then get busy and find out how to do it. Theodore Roosevelt. Our remedies oft in ourselves do lie. William Shakespeare. In all things, be willing to listen to people around you. None of us is really smart enough to go it alone. John Clendenin. Determination plus patience equals success. When the most important times are occurring, we don't even recognize them or notice. We are just busy living our lives. Only looking back do we know what was a great moment in our lives. Federico Fellini. If you don't like the news, go out and make some. Bits of advice. In his 76 years, Mike King accomplished a great deal. As an Irish farm boy, he overcame tuberculosis and immigrated to the United States. King married, established himself in real estate, and raised 6 children. Towards the end of his life, King penned his memoirs, though he said he didn't know how to end the story. One of his daughters suggested he provide his grandchildren with the wisdom King had accumulated during his 7.5 decades. King refused to call this list of wisdom rules, saying they were only bits of advice. At King's funeral this past March, his family handed out the following 9 bits as a loving remembrance. 1. If you make a mistake, live with it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Most successes result from them. Learn from your mistakes, but don't dwell on them. Forget them and go on to bigger and better things. 2. Invest in something, preferably real estate, while you are young and watch your investment grow. 3. Marry. If you can't marry when you are young, marry when you are old. It's not good for man or woman to live alone. 4. Read extensively and all through life, if possible. It extends your knowledge, expands your vocabulary, and keeps your mind active. 5. Find yourself a religion and become involved in it. 6. Don't be too judgmental. Try to accept people as they are, and you'll find that all people are beautiful. 7. Become involved in charitable and social work. The more involved you become, the better you will enjoy it. 8. Don't let anger consume you. Anger is a destructive passion that can ruin your health, poison your disposition, and banish your friends. 9. Become immersed in your work, but don't take it home with you. Find a hobby or recreation to get equally involved in during your leisure hours. The wonderful thing about imagination is that it stretches as far as you can take it, but it never breaks. Remember, every job is a self-portrait of the person who did it. Autograph your work with excellence. A loving heart is a trust wisdom. Charles Dickens. Life is not a spectator sport. If you're going to spend your whole life in the grandstand just watching what goes on, in my opinion, you're wasting your life. Jackie Robinson, baseball player. You may not know all the answers, but you probably won't be asked all the questions either. In order to keep a true perspective of one's importance, everyone should have a dog that will worship him and a cat that will ignore him. Derek Bruce. Gratitude is not only the greatest of all the virtues, but the parent of all others. Cicero. Offering advice may be noble and grand, but it's not the same as a helping hand. It is often interesting in retrospect to consider the trifling causes that lead to great events. Patricia Moyes, writer. Some men succeed by what they know, some by what they do, and a few by what they are. Albert J. Hubbard. True love comes quietly, without banners or flashing lights. If you hear bells, get your ears checked. Eric Siegel, writer. I have finished the good words in English that I have found little by little.